What's up? Welcome to today's video. I'm going to teach you how to make a simple calculator as this. Now if you are an absolute beginner, you have no problem, because this will be explaining details to you as according to your level of understanding, and preferably you should have a bit knowledge on JavaScript and HTML and CSS, because we'll be working with all these throughout this course. Alright, so now let's go into the game. I just showed you the layout we'll be using for the calculator. Let me show you again. This is the layout we'll be using, and so let's start. First thing first, we'll create a new file, a new folder, and let's call it calculator 1, and let's save that. And then we'll open our text editor. For mine, I use Visual Studio. I don't know which one you use, but I think Visual Studio is best for me. It makes my work a lot easier. Alright, so we just open this file, then we add this to our workspace like this. We just drag and drop like we saw me did just now. Okay, now let's do that again. Drag this and drop it there. Okay, it's down here already. So come over to the folder, and you can see it's down here, and then I want to create a new file. I'll be creating 3 files, one for JavaScript, one for CSS, and one for HTML, because these are all the things we'll be needing to create a calculator. So let's create the first one for JavaScript. Calculator.html, save. Then the next one, I click here to create a new file. The next one will be calculator.css. Then the next one will be calculator.js. Beautiful. Now let's go to our HTML, and then I click shift and the number 1 on the keyboard, and this comes out. And when I press tab or enter, it brings out this layout for me. Now instead of writing all this syntax down, Visual Studio Code helps me write it. That's why I love Visual Studio Code. It helps me write down everything I need. So this one makes it responsive, and let's move on. Now the first thing we'll be creating is a div. So let's say div.calculator. Let's call it calculator. Actually, this is what I want to create, a div, but that is a shortcut in Visual Studio to give it a class calculator. So you can actually write your bracket div class depending on the stuff you are using, on the text editor I mean. Now after I create my div, I will create my input div. Let's do it like this. Input, like this. Good. Let us open this with live server so that we see what we are doing. Let's open this with live server. I shall have done that at first. I'll be doing that now. Let's open it with live server so that we see what we are doing. Open with live server. Give it a minute and it will be opened. Beautiful. Now let's see what we are doing. Beautiful. So you see our input is already here. We can write on it, but for the calculator we don't want to write on it. We want it to be kept to just be read only. So I'll put read only attributes. Can you see that? So let's save. Let me reduce this so that we can see this very well. Now can you see that we can't write on it? Beautiful. Now the next thing we'll put, let's give it an ID so that we can call it with JavaScript. Let's say we'll call it input display. Input display. Beautiful. Now the next thing we'll be creating a div, and we'll be giving that div a class, and the class for that div will be keys. We want all our buttons to be hosted in this div, so let's call it keys. Beautiful. Now the next thing we'll create our buttons. And then for these buttons, let's give it an on-click attribute so that we can apply the JavaScript now instead of doing that later. On-click attribute, and let's give a function already. Let's give a function. Let's call the function being displayed. Okay, let's see. Being, I like camel's case. Often give it a function. I like camel case, but you can feel free to use any case, any styling you want to use. Being displayed. Good. Now let's give here one. Yes. Let's give here let's give here 1. Or before then, let us look at the order in which this one is placed already. Beautiful. So we see that we have +789 -456, then star. So we're going to take it in that order, okay, so that it will be nicer for us. So I'll just put back my screen like that, and so we're going to take it in that order of +789. So let me see that again. Plus will be here, plus, then inside here let's give it a parameter before we okay. So did you see what happened? I tried to put double quote in there, but it didn't work because you can't put double quote within there. Yeah, so it's actually a syntax error. So I'll put plus, that's a parameter. Beautiful. So now let's take this down. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20. I think that is much. Okay, let's pull out some. Okay, let's pull out this one also. If we need more, we can just add, right? Okay, so now the next thing we'll be doing, we'll be editing our values. So as I said, let's look at it again. So we have 789. So let's insert that as for here. 7 and then 8. Beautiful. And then 9. Then the next one will be minus, let me show you that, -456. So let's work on that. -456. We'll come here, minus 4 5 6 and the next one will be times 1 2 3 times 1 2 3. So let's put that down. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk will represent our times. And 1 1 2 2 and 3 3. And the next one will be, we have the divide by symbol 0 dot equal to. So we have the divide by symbol 0 dot equal to. We have the divide by symbol, then we have 0 0. Then we have dots. We have equal to. And we have the last one is C, standing for clear. C, standing for clear. Next one is, okay, we don't need parameters for C. We won't need parameters for C, so let's take that out. And then for this also, we don't need parameters. We have to change the function because equal to will not be displayed, it will be calculating. So let's give it the name calculate. Then for clear, let's give it clear input because it will not be displaying anything on the input. Instead it will be clearing everything on the input. So let's give it clear input. Beautiful. Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to style it. But before then, let's save and see how far we've gone. Beautiful. Okay, we have all this now. So now let's go to our style sheets. Before then, let's link it. Let's link our style sheets. So link, let's write the name calculator.css. Save. Let's go to script. Let's go before the body. Let's add a script tag. Script. Let's put source src and let's name it calculator.js. Beautiful. So now we have our JavaScript connected. Let's save it. Now we'll go to our CSS, and the first thing, let's affect the body. Now in affecting the body, the first thing I'm going to put, let's change our fonts family. Let's use Arial. Let's save. Okay, then the next thing we'll be doing, let's put margin, should be, before then let's leave margin out. Let's try out something, then we'll come back to margin. Then we have a div called calculator. So let's affect the calculator and let's see. To call the class, we'll put a dot and then we'll spell it out, calculator. Calculator. Beautiful. So now the next thing we're going to do, let's change the color for this calculator. Let's put a color, background color. Let's see, okay, let's use black. Save. Good. I like HSL values, so let me use HSL values. Let me increase the lightning to 5. Save. Yep, think I like that. So now let's add max width. Let's say max width. Let's say our max width, the maximum width we want is 380 pixels. Okay, let's save. Beautiful. It's taking shape. It's taking shape. All right. So the next thing we'll be going through is let's go to our keys. Let's affect our keys. You remember we put we named the key dot keys. So let's go to our keys, and then for our keys we are going to use grid display. Want them to be in a grid layout, so let's put display grid, and let's put grid template columns. Now we'll use a function known as repeat. Function is just known as repeat. So we'll see how many columns we want to divide the buttons into. So for me, I want to divide it into 4 places. And then the next thing we are going to do is to say what is the length. So I put 75 pixel, the length of each column. Let's put a command here and save. Good. So you see it takes shapes now. Okay, the next thing I want to do is to shape the buttons. Let me shape the buttons. So the next thing, I'll add some paddings to the button. Let's say padding, or let's add the height and the width. Height should be 70 pixels. Width should be 70 pixels. Let me see how it will be like. Okay, I think it's nice. Then let's say we then add border radius. Want it to be round, because if you look at this calculator that we are copying, let me show you. See, it's round, so we want ours also to be round. So let's add border radius, and to make it round it has to be half of the height and the width. So let's just put 50%. Good. See, it's round. Good. Okay, if you look very well, you see some kind of shadowish something there. Let's remove it. That is the border. So let's take away border. Let's sort it to be none. Let's save. Okay, I think it's better now. Very well then. Now the next thing we'll be looking at is the color, and for this we want our color, that is the color of the buttons, to be white. Not the background color of the button, but the color of the text. Let's set it to be white. Let's save. Okay, it disappears. Then if you look very well at this, you notice that the color that they fixed here was kind of ash, and it's the same with the input. So let's work on that. Let's give that color, let's give it black and sharpen it. Sorry, background color black, and let's put HSL values. Now for the HSL values, we want to make it a bit lighter so that it can accommodate very well. Come on, very good. So now we'll just increase this to 20 and save. Beautiful. I think this is perfect. Then the next thing we'll do, let's handle our inputs. So for our input, let's increase it a bit. So let's add the width. Want it to be 100%. Save that. Okay, then let's give it a height, or let's give it a padding of 30 pixels. Is it too big? Okay, I think it's better. Then let's remove our border none. Okay, it looks invisible now. Okay, so let's put a background color. Remember that the background color of that is the same with the buttons, so we'll set it the same with the buttons. Let's go 1 2. We'll increase this to 20% and save. Beautiful. We like it like that. Now how do we handle this overflow? We'll handle it from the calculator. We'll go to the calculator div, the div containing everything, and let's put overflow, and let's put it to be hidden. So if it's overflow, it will hide the overflow. Let's save. Beautiful. Now it's taking shape. I think let's add border radius to this, so it don't be very sharp like that. Let's say 20 pixels. Too sharp. Let's give it 10. Better. Good. Now I think let's add padding into this. So let's say padding should be around 30 pixels. No, too much. Then okay, I think that is not what we want. It's affecting it already. We'll add padding to the keys only. So padding for the keys, we'll say padding for the keys, let's say 10 pixels. Beautiful. Now let's add gaps to these buttons so that they can be spaced out a bit. So we'll come to the keys. There's something we call gap, which will work with all the columns and rows for the grid. So let's say we want 10 pixel gaps spaced out. Beautiful. It's quite well spaced out now. And then for the keys also, I think that will be all for the keys. Now let's move. If we'll be writing with all these stuff, we'll be writing with them. If we'll be writing with them and they are showing it, they will be black in color, and it will not contrast well with the background. So let's go to the input and change it to white, and color white. Save that. Beautiful. Now the next thing we want to do is to go to JavaScript and work on it. But before then, we want to add some hover effect, so that while we hover, some hover effect on it. So let's go to the buttons, hover, and we'll just make it a bit lighter than this background color. So let's copy this out. Control C, come here, Control V, paste. Okay, we'll add background color to it. So yes. Now let's put our closing here. Good. So when we hover, we want it to be a bit lighter. So let's put S. Beautiful. Now let's change this to a cursor. So we are giving it pointer. Let's save and see. Good. So it's now point now. Very good. Now the next thing we'll be working on is the button. So that once we click on it, it will become a bit more lighter than before. Like here, if we click it, nothing happens. So let's come and add the background color to be a bit lighter and this. So let's copy this, Ctrl C, come here, Ctrl V. So we'll make it a bit lighter than the hover effect. So let's say 35. Save. So let's go. Beautiful. Now it's clicking. Let's increase the font size for the button. So let's come and say font size. Let's say the font size should be 2.5 rem. Now this is perfect. Perfect. All right. So now let's go to JavaScript and add some functionality to it. Very good. So now if you look at the HTML very well, you'll see that there was we put this function here, pin displayed. So let's copy this function. Let's go to our JS file and let's create a function. Let's paste that. So this is the function we'll be using. Okay, let's clean this up from inside. Very well there. Okay, so we have created a function, and before we write out a code we want for our function, let us get the input into JavaScript so that we can affect it from JavaScript. So we create a variable const. Let's name it input display, like we did. Input display, and then let's come over here and see what we named it again. We named it input display. So let's copy this from it. Let's lift it out. Let's go back to our JS file. Let's put equals to. So we're using the DOM document dot, let's say query selector. Let's use the query selector and this. So let's paste. Before we paste, let's use this to identify that it's an ID. Let me wipe it out and close this so that you can see what I'm doing very well. Close this up. Good. Now input. Now when we click the button, let's add a parameter, and the parameter we'll be adding would be display text. So that is like what will be displayed. Sorry, display text. Display text. I mean, so what will be displayed as a parameter, and then the next thing we'll be doing is we'll be getting anything that is being tapped. Let's get the parameter and display it into the input. So how can we do that now? We'll first display input dot value. That is our input display. So how can we do that now? We'll get our input display dot value and then equal to display text. Beautiful. Now I want to show you something. Let's see if it works. Beautiful. Now it works, but notice it, once I press it changes. So we'll be just add plus at the front of it, plus, so that it adds correspondingly. Good. Now this is better. All right, clear doesn't work. Okay, now if you notice these numbers are very small, so let's go to CSS and increase them a bit. Let's go to our input, font size. Let's make it, let's say we want it 2.5 rem. Save. Okay, I think this is perfect now, and it's better. Beautiful. Okay, now the next thing we'll be doing, let's go back to our JS. We want to make this equal to interactive now, so we'll come here and we'll create a function called calculate, like we put in the onClick attribute, and then we give it a code. Now there is something we call evaluate. This evaluate our value. So let's say we put 3 plus 5, and let's console.log this first, or paste it here, console.log. console.log this value, save. Let's come here, open our console, inspect. Let's make this wider. Good. Now we'll go to console and let's press equal to, so we'll activate the function. You see 8, so it evaluates the value 3 plus 5. But let's say something like this, 3 plus, and let's say save, and let's come here. We'll now use something we call try and catch. Beautiful. So now let's use the try. So we are saying try out this code. Let's cut it out. Okay, let's cut out this, cut out, come here, paste it, try out this code. Then if nothing happens, then we say catch. If you catch an error, display this. So what code are we trying out? It is actually the values within the input. So let's take input display.value, input display.value. That's what we want it to evaluate for us. Good. Now let's, if an error is found, right, then we'll do something. We'll now see if an error is found, we'll put something into the input display value, dot value. Let's say it's equal to so let's say it's equals to error, or should we put syntax error? No, let's leave it at error, and let's close out this, save. So let's try it and see. 7 8 plus 8. Okay, it's not working. So what's the issue now? Let's go to our console. Okay, I just remember we didn't save this. Control S. Good. So let's try it again. 7 8 plus 9 8 equal. It's still not working. Let's check our parameters now. Calculate is Control C, come here, paste. Okay, I just found out what happened. Okay, so this evaluate is not going into anywhere. Do you understand? So we have to assign it to the input value. That's what we want. Input dot value. So once it calculates, we want to take the value into the input. So that was the thing that was missing out. So we just did that. Let's save and let's try it again. 7 8 9 plus 4 5 equal. So you see the value is now displayed into the input. That was one thing we missed. So this 837 it's I think it's working fine. So you see it's still moving. Now we want the clear button to be able to work so that we can clear out. The next thing we want to do is for the clear button to work. So let's come here, to our HTML file. Let's copy the function out so that we don't make mistakes. So we name it clear input, and so once we paste it here, come like this, we'll write our codes inside. What do we want? Anytime this function is activated, we want everything on the inputs to be clear. So let's call in the input display dot value. We want it to be equal to an empty string. Ctrl S. So let's write 7 8. Let's put clear. Beautiful, it's working. 7 8 9 plus 4 equals to 793. Very beautiful, very beautiful. Clear. Okay, I think we've actually made this work. Let's try the times symbol. Let's try the times symbol. Times 1 equal 4. Beautiful. Okay, so it's working now. The next thing we want to do, if we look at this very well, look at this calculator, you see that there are yellow colors here. So let's do that. We'll just add a class and make it just like the way we saw that. So let's go to CSS. Let's put orange keys first. Dot orange keys. Orange keys. Let's say background color. Let's name it orange. But I will name this to be, I want it to be HSL value. Now let's come here and then let's add the class to the ones we want. So we want all these ones here to carry the orange value. So let's see the plus orange keys. Beautiful. So let's save. Now let's copy this class so that we can paste it, making our work easier. So we'll go to the minus symbol, paste it. We'll go to the times symbol, as the asterisk, paste it. We'll go to the divide symbol, paste it. Then we'll go to the clear symbol, paste it. Let's save. Now all this has it. Beautiful. Now the next thing we want to do is to make sure is to come here and then now the next thing we want to do is to come here, paste and do hover. Since we don't want it to be showing hash in, let's make it hover. Once we hover on it, let's use this background color, but we'll make it lighter, just like the way we did to the hash color. We'll make it lighter. Let's make here 60. Save. So let's see. Beautiful. I think it's working fine. Then let's copy this again. Ctrl C. Paste. Now we want to change this to active. That means once the button is clicked, we want this to be increased furthermore. So let's put to 5. Save. Now once it's clicked, there's a reaction. Very good. Now I think we've done literally everything. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all. You learned how to build a nice calculator just now. Now you could try this and impress your friends. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. My next video, I'll be adding a delete button in which you could delete value one by one from this calculator instead of clearing everything at a time. Stay